Welcome back to Straight Talk. I'm Laural Porter. By now, Oregon voters should have their ballots for the May 15th primary. I have mine. One of the most important races, the contest for governor. The GOP race is tighter than expected, with 3 candidates moving ahead of a record field of contenders. Many thought Bend orthopedic surgeon Newt Buehler would be the favorite, but Bend businessman Sam Carpenter and retired naval aviator Greg Woolridge are gaining momentum. Tonight, we meet Sam Carpenter. Welcome to Straight Talk. It's great to have you here.
Well, thanks, Laurel.
You say on your website that you're 68 and in great shape to retire if you wanted to. So why run for governor?
Well, I love this beautiful state. I've been here over 40 years and it's in trouble. From the forest to PERS, the economic situation, and on down the line, I could list all the items that I think need help. And my business in life, one of my businesses in life, is to fix other businesses, fix broken organizations. And this would be a great challenge, and I know I can do it. And I know that this state needs to be fixed, and I find myself in the odd position of maybe being able to help do that.
Well, let's take a look at some other of your background and let our viewers get to know you a little bit better. You mentioned that you own a business. Centratel is a telephone answering service. You also own a business consulting firm. You ran unsuccessfully for the GOP nomination to run against Senator Wyden in 2016. Sam Carpenter is a philanthropist, too. In 2006, he founded Kashmir Family Aid, a nonprofit that aids surviving school children of the northern Pakistan and Azad Kashmir earthquake of 2005. He's written 2 books about business management. I see you have one of your books here. Born and raised in upstate New York and moved to Oregon 40 years ago or so. But you've never been elected to public office. So why decide to run for governor? Why not go ahead and run for the legislature and prove your effectiveness there? Why go for the top? People may wonder what qualifies you to be governor.
Those are the rungs that are supposed to be climbed, and those are the rungs that have been so many times climbed in the past, but look where it has us. The state's on the verge of bankruptcy. I could go through my liturgy of the things that need to be fixed. Oregonians want an outsider and a business person to be in Salem, not a professional, not a career politician. That's what the polling shows. That's what I know in my guts. That's Donald Trump, actually, is never held elected office, and he's our president. All across the country, there are regular people going into office. Call them citizen legislators.
You've patterned your campaign after Donald Trump. You call it Make Oregon Great Again. Donald Trump got about 40% of the vote in Oregon. If you win the primary and go on to November to take on Kate Brown, you're going to need more than that 40%. You'll need that whole base. You'll need unaffiliated voters, some Democrats. How are you going to appeal to them?
That won't be a problem. And I get asked, how are you going to get the blue counties up north? People in Portland are not happy, the Portland region, with the way things are going. Homelessness, there's no jobs, the transportation, the high housing costs. In fact, our polling shows that independents, the biggest block of Oregon voters, are 53% for a Republican gubernatorial candidate and only 37% for Kate Brown. And I'm a blue-collar guy. That's my background. I can put on a hard hat and not look foolish. I can run a chainsaw. So Democrats are not going to be a problem sitting down in front of me and understanding that I make sense. I'm very confident if I can get through the primary that we will win not just the governor's seat, but the House and the Senate.
Well, the Democratic Party of Oregon says that your views are too extreme for Oregon, and they point to that. They say you deny climate change, that you're opposed to same-sex marriage and protections for transgender people. Is that incorrect?
That's incorrect. Those last 2, nothing has ever been uttered from my mouth about the last 2. Climate change, the climate is changing. Is it man-made? I have my doubts.
So you feel like you're in step with the average Oregonian with your views?
The average Oregonian needs more money in their pockets. They need to be left alone by the government. The government's too big. Whether you're in agriculture in Union County or dealing with the big fire down outside of Brookings, there's too much government. And everywhere in between, the taxes, the regulations. And you know what the biggest thing I've found in traveling around with my wife, Diana, are the regulations and the restrictions on people being able to run their businesses and run their lives unencumbered.
There are a number of you who've sort of broken away from the pack of, there were 20, I guess it's smaller now, but you and Newt Buehler, who's the moderate, considered the moderate, and Greg Woolridge, the retired naval aviator. the two of you are considered the conservatives. What differentiates you from Woolridge? Why do you think you would be the better opponent to take on Kate Brown?
I have a legacy of fixing broken organizations. I've worked in the private sector for 35 years. That's very different from being a leader in the military, where the people have to do what you ask them to do. My business I told you about, I fix businesses. That's what I do. And it goes on down from there, but it's about experience, it's about desire, it's about my positions. I am Second Amendment, I'm firm on Second Amendment. Greg's a little wobbly on Second Amendment. He doesn't support our president, big thing. He has been a McCain supporter. He was missing during the Obama years, and now he's back, and he doesn't like to talk about President Trump, and of course Newt Buehler disdains the man.
One of the candidates in the race, Bruce Cuff, announced this week that he's dropping out of the race, and he threw his support behind candidate Greg Woolridge, saying that he's the best candidate to defeat Kate Brown, and he called on you to drop out of the race. Have you considered dropping out of the race? That's
pretty much insane, seeing that I'm at 24%. Greg is in the high 11%.
And is that according to a poll that you had done?
That's a Triton scientific poll that none of the other candidates have disputed, nor have they brought their own polls forth. And they're all doing polls except for Bruce. Now, Bruce is at 3%. Bruce made a promise in March that he would drop out to me and to a lot of people in the Portland area in the first week of March if he was behind. He was behind me. He was at 6%. I was at 18%. Bruce is in no position to be throwing those kind of requests around.
There are concerns among some in the Republican Party, though, if one of you doesn't drop out, that you will splinter that conservative vote and Newt Buehler will win the primary. So do you think one of you needs to drop out?
Well, certainly. I would like Greg Woolridge to climb on board. I'm at 24%. He's at 11%. Why would I drop out? I'm the leader.
You, a spokesman for another campaign asked, you tweeted this week, a spokesman for another campaign asked why I wasn't at a candidate endorsement meeting with some liberal Portland newspaper. I think this question kind of answers itself, don't you think? This is your tweet, #fake news. What newspaper was that?
Well, I'm not going to mention names, but there were 5 of them throughout Oregon, and I declined to go because they have been ignoring my press releases. Their editorial content would completely dispute my position, and they're not going to endorse me. I represent the people. I don't represent mainstream media.
I'm just curious what you mean by fake news. How do you define that?
A distortion of reality.
By not endorsing you?
No. By the general editorial positions the papers take are not real. They are fake news. That is fake news. Now, I'm not a mini Trump. That's a good phrase, though, is fake news. I am not going to cater to mainstream media when they're going to dispute what I say and when they don't support me and they don't read my press releases. I'm responding to the people. You know, we have almost 100,000 people on Facebook. I don't need that kind of press. I'll make my own press and talk right to the people.
Let's go through a few of the top issues. One of the things that's happening soon is a special session that Governor Kate Brown announced this week to call a special session of the legislature on May 21st for an attempt to pass a roughly $15 million annual tax break to about 9,000 Oregon businesses. You're a businessman. Would you support that plan?
Of course, but keep in mind, we're not going to be able to do the 20% deduction on our taxes that Donald Trump and our legislature back in D.C. proposed. We usually follow the federal guidelines for taxes. We can't do that in Oregon now with our state taxes. We can't take that 20% deduction. That's about $1 billion.
Because of a bill passed by the legislature and signed by Governor Brown.
Right. So the $15 million is a fraction of what's been taken away. It's a bone being tossed. Most Oregonians realize that.
You mentioned PERS. The shortfall of PERS is bound to be a big topic as we go into the general election. What solution do you have for fixing PERS that would be different than other candidates?
There's a number of things. Most of us do agree that new hires need to go on a 401k defined contribution plan. And we need to get the economy going 6 to 8%, not this anemic 2 and 3%. And I need to tell our PERS people who are working now and who are retired, we will not touch their benefits. This is for new hires only. And the union bosses out there are representing my position and the other guys' positions differently, that we're going to take everybody's retirement away. I'll tell you this, if we go bankrupt to the state, it'll be pennies to the dollar for their retirement.
We only have just over a minute left, but I did want to ask you, you mentioned Second Amendment. You say you're a no compromise candidate. What would you propose to try to reduce gun violence in schools if you won't make any compromise on gun regulations? Well,
why would we not have armed people in the schools? We have them everywhere else. Why is that? This is an assumption that the media makes, that you can never have a gun in a school because they're children. That's why you have guns in schools, to protect the children. Does every teacher need to carry a gun? No. Does any teacher need to handle a gun and have a gun? No. But you could have some armed security people in the school. I don't know what the argument is against that.
Only about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
On sanctuary cities, you back President Trump's policy on immigration reform. You support a border wall. Oregon is a sanctuary state. Portland and Multnomah County are sanctuary communities. Where would you stand as governor on sanctuaries?
No more sanctuary state. The cities have
That's a state law, so you'd have to get that changed.
We would have to have our newly formed red legislature, Republican legislature, pass a law to rescind the sanctuary state.
You think you can get a Republican-controlled legislature?
I sure do, in 2018.
All right, Sam Carpenter, thank you for joining us here on Straight Talk. If you'd like to find out more about Sam Carpenter, you can go to his website. It's MakeOregonGreatAgain.com. We always welcome your comments. You can send them to us on Twitter. Follow us at KGW Straight Talk. And join me next week when my guests are candidates New Buehler and Greg Woolridge. That's coming up next week. We'll see you then for Straight Talk. Have a great week. Thank you so much.
Laural.
It's great to have you here.
Sure. Thank you.